covenant theology does actually address that very issue, because it says that there is only one covenant of grace, and it operates in both Old Testament and New Testament. In the Old Testament, the fulfillment in terms of the coming of Jesus is still anticipatory. I've learned to say it the American way. And of course, from the Ascension onwards and Pentecost onwards, it's in the reality of a Christ, a Messiah, who has come. Now, Reformed theology has differed as to whether there is a future for ethnic Israel. Calvin seems to be on the side that there is not, that Israel is the church is Israel. There's no special prophecy for a worldwide conversion of Jews. But then you and I, we were talking at lunch about John Murray, and John Murray, in his commentary on Romans 11:26, and all Israel shall be saved, saw that in terms of a future conversion on a large scale of ethnic Jews. I don't think Murray had any ideas that involved the nation of Israel or Palestine or the significance of 1948 and so on. But certainly you and I in England with Mission to the Jews, that 19th century Robert Murray McCheyne founded, very much on the point of view that all Israel shall be saved was a reference to ethnic Jews.
This is a serious issue, dispensationalism and non-dispensationalism or covenant theology. There's three issues. We've talked about one. It's eschatology and the eschatological time frame. The other is this two peoples of God. And it ends up being two ways of salvation. It ends up being this bifurcation of the testaments. So that sharp distinction between Israel and the church rather than an understanding of one person of God, or the one people of God, rather. The third issue is just reading the Bible. And here's fundamentally the problem with dispensationalism. There are the parts that matter are the epistles. And the parts that we sort of pick and choose from are the Gospels in the Old Testament. And so that's, I think, the real Achilles heel here. We can get hung up on the eschatological calendars and the differences, but I think what we need to see is this is not a healthy way. A dispensational theology and a dispensational hermeneutic is not a healthy way to read the Bible.
When I did a course on eschatology at seminary under a postmillennialist, I decided, and we had to study Ryrie's book on dispensationalism, which was all the rage. And there are various kinds of dispensationalism, and some are way more complicated than others. But for me, Jesus' words in Caesarea Philippi are absolutely foundational, that there is only one plan, and that plan is called church. And it's not as though the disciples come to him and say, but Rabbi, it's been Israel for thousands of years. How come, what is this new thing called church? Because Jesus hadn't been preaching about church, he'd been preaching about kingdom, but they instinctively understood what he said. When he used the word ecclesia, they immediately, I think, associated with a word that sounds like synagogue, and therefore could embed that directly back into the Old Testament. And these were Jews. So Matthew 16 at Caesarea Philippi, to me, was the sort of death knell of the bifurcation of the Testaments.